How to win a fight against every deadly animal. Video by Trust Me, bro. I feel like to win most fights, you just have to be very confident in yourself. I think a lot of animals are scared of humans as it is. If you can show a little bit of aggression and confidence in it, I think you can win. I say like 30% out of 70, at 30% out of 100% of your fights against animals, because we don't know all the animals you're gonna fight. Some animals don't care. Like find a polar bear, all that aggression and confidence ain't getting you shit. Where you're getting salad tossed. But make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into the video.
How to survive the deadliest animal attacks. You and your best bro are sitting on the couch watching TV. It almost seemed like this day could not get any more boring. And just as you were starting to get into the show on the television, it cuts to a commercial break. It was actually a commercial for a brand new experimental zoo that had just opened in your city. And as soon as you and your bro heard zoo and brand new, both of your ears perked up. One of the most interesting things that it was advertising was a safety course on how to survive the most common and deadly animal attacks. Now, since at this point you and your bro had already survived countless deadly locations, as well as numerous deadly survival myths, you figured why not take the opportunity to now also learn about how to survive deadly animal attacks. And without any further convincing required, you and your bro quickly change into your explorer outfits and you head to the zoo. As you and your friend arrive, you notice something peculiar. The parking lot is absolutely empty, and the zoo itself is massive. And it honestly doesn't even look like a zoo. It looks more like a prison, with walls that go endlessly into the horizon. And as you walked into the zoo and met the coordinator, you were informed that the TV ad was a bit misleading, that it actually wasn't a safety course, it was more of a crash course. However, there was a cash prize to be won if the crash course was completed successfully. And since you and your bro were not only bored, but broke, you figured, what did you have to lose? And with that, the coordinator led you to two massive steel doors. You and your friend walk in, and the doors slammed behind you. As you and your bro look ahead of you, you realize that this zoo is nothing like any zoo you've ever seen. There was no cages or doors or trails. It was literally just wilderness directly in front of you. Besides one table that had one pamphlet on it. And as you pick up this pamphlet, you see that it reads Animal Survival Guide. And as you begin to read it, you hear a voice over a PA system. That voice was the coordinator. And the coordinator tells you if you want to make it out of this challenge alive, you need to follow the rules in this pamphlet to a T. And they also inform you that every animal you encounter is going to be getting bigger in size as you get deeper into the enclosure. At this point, you and your bro know that you have bitten off way more than you could chew, and this was definitely not what you signed up for. But at this point, you had no other option. So you begin to walk into the wooded area. As you and your bro become fully immersed in the woods, you realize that while the circumstances may be a bit peculiar, you're in a rather beautiful location. The leaves are green, the trees are healthy, the grass is green, the flowers are plentiful, and you even notice that there is beehives and bees flying around. And while your bro decides to walk up to the flowers and approach the bees, you open the pamphlet and realize the first animal attack you have to survive is actually bees, the smallest creature in this entire zoo. And as you read through the pamphlet, you see that the first thing it emphasizes is that with bee attacks, prevention is key. Meaning that if you want to survive, or at least in this case, avoid a bee attack, the best way to do so is to be calm, slow, and gentle. And on top of that, avoid bright colors and strong perfumes.
Isn't it hard to outrun bees?
State that bees typically are
Or is it like
non-aggressive
the
to
giant
people
Asian
unless
hornet?
they feel threatened or are stepped on or the privacy of their nest is being encroached on. And while you are now armed with this information, you look up at your friend and are shocked. Your friend, in the bright blue jacket, wearing Axe body spray, is not only actively swatting at bees that are getting too close to him, but he is also trying to get a close look at the beehive. And it's this combination of moves that end up with him being attacked. And almost cartoonishly, you watch him run back and forth with his arms flailing until he runs so far ahead of you that you can't see him anymore. You wait for his screams to stop, you maneuver slowly around the bees, you respect their space, and seemingly magically, you're able to make it to the next area completely unscathed. However, as you meet up with your friend, you can't say the same for him, and his face looks like mine did in high school. Although fortunately, your friend is not allergic to bees. And while he's in pain, you and your friend are able to safely remove the stingers with a credit card, and you continue on your way, satisfied that you had just survived your first animal attack. One that may seem tame, although when you realize that the attacks are only going to get more dangerous from here on out, and the fact that if you did have a bee allergy, that encounter would be deadly, you realize that maybe this isn't so much of a walk in the park. As you and your bro exit the forest and enter a clearing, you notice something peculiar. It's a glass of water on a wooden stool in front of a small pond. At this point, your bro is already over the entire ordeal and just wants to get out and get his prize. And for that reason, he picks up the glass of water, pours it on his head to cool himself off, and begins to trek his way through that pond. But almost instantly, you realize that that wasn't a normal glass of water, and this wasn't a normal pond, because sitting on top of your bro's head was a small and nearly transparent creature known as the box jellyfish. And it was actually a warning of what existed in the pond. Generally, most jellyfish are completely harmless. However, there are a few species that are very harmful, one of those specific species being the box jellyfish. Now, while you could argue that box jellyfish don't necessarily attack you, I would argue that they don't need to, because even just passively brushing against their tentacles could leave you in excruciating pain and potentially in the grave. Box jellyfish are particularly dangerous because they are so hard to see. As you and your bro did, or I guess didn't see in the glass of water, box jellyfish are almost transparent. And typically you feel their tentacles burning your skin before you actually see the jellyfish itself, making encounters with them not uncommon and not pleasant whatsoever. Now, similar to bees, the best way to avoid a jellyfish attack would be avoidance. But since that's literally the case for any animal, I'm gonna stop saying that, although it is true. As you open up the pamphlet to learn about the box jellyfish, you read that the symptoms of coming in contact with a box jellyfish range from either mild skin irritation to severe pain, nausea, and cardiac complications, and the complexity and severity of your symptoms really depend on the amount of venom you become exposed to. Now, armed with this information, you look up from the pamphlet and see that your bro is already halfway through the pond, neck deep in this water. And because of this, you ask him, "Hey, do you feel like you're touching anything in the water?" And you
I mean, at that point, if the jellyfish is on his head and you see it, and he's fine, don't tell him. You might get him to panic, and then he might hit more jellyfish, get burned, cardiac arrest, cramping, can't move, then he drowns. Because trying to save somebody that's drowning is hard too. Then you could die too. So just let bro thug it out with the jellyfish on his head.
replies, "Yeah, I do actually. It feels like there's invisible marshmallows, but I can't feel anything." That is until moments later when you hear your friend begin to scream in agonizing pain. You watch him run out of the pond, and standing on the other side, you see him covered from the neck down with long stripes of inflamed skin, areas that got in contact with these jellyfish. And there's still even remnants of jellyfish tentacles sitting on his skin, furthering the exposure and worsening the pain. Knowing that you too have to walk through this pond, you desperately look around for anything that could potentially help you. And it's at that point when you once again consult the pamphlet and read that one of the best ways to avoid stings is to wear a sting suit, or even a traditional wetsuit. And while you don't have access to a wetsuit, you do your very best to insulate the clothes you're wearing. You tuck your pants into your socks, your shirt into your pants, and you put your hands deeply in your pocket. And once you've become as insulated as possible, you try to quickly make your way around the edge of the pond, only going about waist deep in the water and thankfully avoiding a jellyfish attack. Although now that your friend is really looking worse for wear, you once again consult the book about potential remedies for jellyfish attacks. And while your friend is already mentally preparing for a golden shower, you inform him that the book says that fresh water and urine are actually not helpful for jellyfish stings, and they in most cases make it worse. And what you really want to use to neutralize the venom and end the pain is vinegar. Unfortunately, sitting right beside your friend was a large jug of white vinegar. And as you begin to pour it all over your bro, he instantly begins to feel better. And after the vinegar has been used up, you take your handkerchief out of your pocket, you begin to wipe off the tentacles that are still on his body. In this case, your friend was lucky enough to not require medical attention. However, in severe cases of box jellyfish stings, or where a large group of stings happen, it is advised you seek medical attention immediately, as in those cases you may require antivenom to survive. Okay, this is off topic, but do you smell that? It smells like you didn't shower. And if that's the case, I feel bad for your anime body pillow. But in case you did, you're obviously not using the right stuff, which is why this video is sponsored by Cheeky Soap. Cheeky Soap is my favorite soap company. I guarantee you will not be looking in the grass. And while it's small, they had a chance against the real predators. Heading back into the woods, you notice once again a small clearing. Although there's no pond, there is simply a stick in the grass. And while at this point you both know better than to grab it, you do slowly approach it to see what it could be. And as you approach it, the stick turns out to be not a stick at all. And it's actually a king cobra, the longest venomous snake in the entire world. It's also a snake that carries a powerful neurotoxin that can seriously mess you up. Instinctually, you and your bro take a few steps back and you instantly consult the pamphlet. And it begins by telling you exactly how deadly and dangerous a king cobra is, and then it tells you what you should do if you encounter it. The first step it recommends is remaining absolutely dead calm. Sudden movements are the perfect way to make the cobra feel threatened and provoke an attack, something you don't want to happen. That means you cannot just run away, and you cannot try to strike it yourself. Since you are already in close proximity to the king cobra and have pissed it off by encroaching on its personal space, it may seem helpful to try to kick it, to just, get it out of your way and to scare it off. But realistically, a king cobra can bite much faster than you can kick, and extending your leg towards it is only going to result in a bite that could take your life. And what the pamphlet actually recommends is to do nothing of the sort. Now that you and your bro have already separated yourselves from the snake, it's important to analyze how the snake is feeling. And with the king cobra specifically, if their hood is spread out and their body is off the ground and they are hissing loudly, that means they are peak mad. And your best bet is to create as much space as possible. If this situation was to happen in a real-world scenario, your best bet would be to retrace your steps and leave. But in this case, with you and your bro having to move forward, you have to get creative. And what you and your bro decide to do is to quickly separate and begin moving in opposite directions, almost moving in a circle around the snake. That way, you and your bro could each keep an optimal distance from the king cobra and also mitigate your chances of being bit, because realistically, the cobra can only go after one of you if it decides to strike. Unfortunately, even though you and your bro accidentally made this king cobra extremely upset, you were able to pass by it successfully by remaining calm, moving slowly, and keeping your distance. And for that reason, preventing a true attack. Now, if you and your bro weren't so lucky and happened to be bit by the cobra, as the pamphlet states, the best course of action is to still remain calm, but begin taking immediate measures. And what it recommends is immobilizing the limb that was bit and keeping it at or below your heart level. Beyond just that, the pamphlet also recommends removing any tight clothing or jewelry, as your body will begin to swell, and it also recommends against cutting the wound or sucking out venom, as that has not been shown to be an effective preventative measure. Once you've immobilized your limb and removed tight clothing and are trying your best to remain calm, the final
That reminds me, bro, I was late to work one day because I was working a morning shift, and I step outside and look to my right, and I heard I got spooked. I looked down. I'm like, oh, it's a rat snake, bro. I was like, bro, I got a chicken right next to this door that's hatching. It has chicks right now, like hatching out eggs. I'm like, bro, I can't let this snake just do this. Bro, luckily it's a shovel right to my left. As soon as I open the door, boom, straight to the head, gone. I had to call my manager. I was like, hey, bro, I might be a little late today. I had to kill a snake. I used them 10, 15 minutes of my time. Even though I killed the snake in like 2 minutes. But I was like, hey, I'm gonna be late. I had to kill a snake. Showed him a picture. I'm sure he thought I was lying, but I sent him that picture. He was like, there's no way.
Is seek medical attention, because the neurotoxin in king cobra venom causes paralysis, and if left untreated can paralyze your lungs, causing you to die. However, fortunately, in this case, your friend did not have a near-death experience, although you're far from out of the woods. As you and your bro stumble into the next clearing, you notice that there's no bees, no jellyfish, no venomous sticks in the grass, but you do see a small, gray, fuzzy thing. It's just sitting there in the grass, and you and your bro can't make out what it is. And at this point, knowing better than just to run up to it, you and your bro decide to yell at it to try to get its attention, because it's obviously something. And after a few shouts, you notice that this ball is moving, and it turns its head to look at you, and what you see is the most adorable puppy you've ever seen. This puppy...
Oh, hell nah. It's a wolf pack coming. You see a puppy, and it's by itself, know there's gonna be parents right next to it.
He is all sad and alone and is shaking and crying. Only moments after seeing the innocent face of this puppy, you couldn't help yourself but to go and comfort it. And as you approach this puppy and pick it up, it begins to lick you and love you, and it honestly looks like it's much happier. And for the first time so far in the zoo, you guys are actually enjoying yourselves and feel like you're catching a break. Although your precious puppy time is quickly cut short when you hear a familiar noise in the distance. It's not the bark of a dog, but the howl of a wolf.
Yep.
And you quickly realize that this is a wolf pup, and the pack was about to return sooner rather than later. But before you can even put the puppy down and head on your way, you notice the pack arriving. And judging by the visible ribs on their sides, they had just come back from an unsuccessful hunt. Now, in most cases, wolf attacks are extremely rare, for humans that is. Although, because you are in the wolf's territory, currently engaging with a wolf pup, the pack has no choice but to challenge you and protect their young. As you put the pup down and begin to retrace your steps, the wolves begin to close in on you, and you quickly refer to the pamphlet. And the first thing the pamphlet says is do not run if you encounter wild wolves. Running will only trigger their chase instinct, and will trigger a single wolf or an entire wolf pack to chase you down until the end. Instead, what you should do if you are in a situation where there's a wolf angry at you is to stand tall and make yourself appear as large as possible.
Yeah,
and you do exactly that. You take off your backpacks, put them above your head, and begin shouting the most aggressive nonsense you can conjure. And quickly, with your arms in the air and your dominance being asserted, the wolves don't back off, but they do pause in their approach towards you. Consulting the book once again as you are making progress, you read that the next step is to slowly back away while keeping your eyes on the animal and maintaining your confident posture. If you turn your back to the animal or begin to crouch or slouch, this may signal weakness, once again triggering an attack. As you and your bro are standing confidently, you notice the wolf pack begin to no longer circle you and congregate around the pup in front of you, meaning that you're no longer surrounded, but you still have a pack to go through if you want to complete the challenge. And it's because of this that you continue to read the pamphlet, and it informs you that if you are not able to safely back away from wolves, your next best bet is to throw things at it. Sticks, rocks, or even your backpacks are great ways to deter escalation. And in this case, your bro throws his backpack directly at the pack, missing the wolves but startling them enough to begin backing away themselves. As you've learned from the pamphlet, wolves tend to avoid people and do not see humans as prey, and these wolves do not want to attack you. And now that they've been able to gather their pup and congregate, they are much more likely to leave than attack. And that is exactly what's happening after your bro threw his backpack. And as the wolves begin to head on their way, you throw your backpack as well, and you and your bro continue to stand strong until they are completely out of sight. And it's at that point when you collect your bags and continue walking, heading back and
Bro, like, they have a pamphlet, but I remember when I was in like 5th grade, because I used to walk to school in 5th grade before I started riding the bus getting the cheese. But it was this big ass German Shepherd that was right in front of our house, like it was like townhouse, and that house was like it was like 2 houses away from our house, so we only had to walk like 50 more feet, and we get home. I'm in the front, my little brother in the back, and we just walking. I remember I had some Air Forces on, some brand new Air Forces on. I'm walking. It came out of like red moat, so like, it was kind of camouflaged. I heard. I just seen it. Boy, I turned, booked it. I came up out of them forces. My brother, he had on Tim's, mind you. I was in front of my brothers behind me. I was so scared that I zoomed right past my little brother. Zoomed right past him. Kept running. We ran all the way to the school. Like, didn't stop at all. We made it to the school. We had, like, there was a police officer at like, elementary used to guide the traffic. We told him there's a dog in front of the house. We can't get in. And when they pull up, the dog all nice and cool. And I'm like, bro, you just tried to maul me. Like, you was chasing me relentlessly. Didn't stop. But want to be cool when the cop pulled up. Like, how did the dog know this a cop?
the woods and making your way to the next clearing, you and your bro are beginning to feel confident because you're consistently learning and successfully avoiding or at least surviving animal attacks. Although little did you and your bro know that the attacks to come would be far beyond just humbling. As you make your way into the next clearing, you notice that this clearing's for once empty. There's no sticks, there's no fuzzball, there's no bees, there's literally nothing. But upon a closer inspection, there is a pile of dirt basically right in front of you. This pile of dirt is covered in flies and honestly it smells pretty gross. And while your bro thinks this might be an anthill and that the next animal attack is fire ants, you realize that what you're looking at is not an anthill, it's a pile of animal feces. And you notice beside it are prints that are large and look like paws. And putting two and two together, you realize that these feces came from a predator, and the predator is not far at all. As you crouch down to get a better look at the paw prints in the soil, your bro is quickly attacked by a mountain lion. And
GG's. I'm dead. It's over. I mean, like, you know how this dumbass camera, I need to turn it off. But you know how quick like this can escalate and then it be over so fast. Like the mountain lion or cougar or puma, whatever it is, jumps on you, gets you right here with his canines into the jugular. One bite, R.I.P. It can just happen, boom, like that. I'm looking at my buddy, he just gone. He's just gone. Like as soon as that happen, boom. You could just be dead in there. Like, am I gonna help you, or is it like, all right, he gone, I'm out? I don't know.
now the clock is ticking before your friend becomes dinner
I'm
for
gonna
this
help him
animal.
if I
As
see
your
him.
friend
If
is
I
face
see him
down in
still
the
showing
dirt
like
and the
my
mountain lion is biting into its backpack, you quickly consult the pamphlet. And the pamphlet informs
ain't got no
you
time for
that
this
mountain
pamphlet,
lions
bro.
are stealth hunters, which is why it jumped out of the bushes to attack your friend.
You gotta be
Although they
aggressive with this
typically
motherfucker.
don't attack humans. However, in this case, the mountain lion must have thought your friend was a deer. And mountain lions are rather unique in their attack style, because not many predators try to ambush their prey like mountain lions, making them extra dangerous if you happen to get mistaken for something they're actually looking for. Regardless, time is of the essence, and right now, preventative measures or looking big is simply not an option. It is life or death for your bro, and you quickly begin shouting life-saving advice at him from the pamphlet. The first recommendation is to fight back aggressively and immediately. And instantly, your bro flips over and begins trying to drive a wedge between himself and the mountain lion via his legs. And the next thing you shout now that he is more vulnerable is to protect your head and neck and chest. These are some of the most vulnerable areas on your body that one slash from a mountain lion could easily kill you with. And for that reason, you try to keep your legs near your chest and you cover your face and neck with your forearm and elbows. And now you inform him that when the opportunity arises, strike the sensitive areas of the mountain lion.
Or you could just help
specifically
him.
the eyes and nose. And he begins to bash the nose of the mountain lion with his elbow, and as the mountain lion becomes stunned by its prey fighting back, he quickly mashes his fist on the eye of the mountain lion. As you continue to read, you see that it's crucial to fight back as aggressively as possible and to not play
Are
dead.
you
because
pausing the
similar
game?
to
How's
running,
the mountain lion
playing
just
dead
gonna
will
sit there
only
and just
trigger
let you
an
hit
attack
his face?
response from these animals. And your best chance of surviving an attack is to resist as much as possible to prove to the animal that you are simply not worth fighting. And in the case of your bro, that is exactly what happens. The mountain lion begins to quickly back away. He gets on his knees and then on his feet, and once again, you two both assume a confident, tall stance, causing the predator to back away into the bushes that it only recently jumped out of. Recouping with your bro, you guys are both
Yeah, I
at
know
this
when
point
if I'm
questioning
green
your
shirt and
decision,
I'm going
but
through this,
also
I better get
understanding that
the
there is
biggest
truly
cut.
no heading back at this point.
You just
quickly
sat there
check
and
your
read the
friend to make sure he's not bleeding
pamphlet
from
while I'm
anywhere
over here
vital. As you
dying?
continue
No.
back into the woods, you notice the ground getting marshier and the trees
We
getting
gotta
more
do it.
droopy. And you
Alligators
realize
now.
you're heading out of the woods and into the swamp. And while you didn't expect Shrek to be one of the predators on this list, at this point, anything is possible. Although this time,
Alligators.
it's different than before. The water is murky. There's vegetation both on the shoreline and in the water.
And if it's
And
still
while
water
you know
too,
you need to cross this body of water, you still don't know what lies within it. That is, until two eyes pop out of the
Yeah.
water. And while your friend still isn't convinced it's not Shrek, you know exactly what you're looking at. It's an alligator. Alligators are no doubt terrifying, but they're also so interesting because they are literally like living dinosaurs. But on this particular day, you don't feel like getting up close and personal with a relic from the dinosaur era. As you consult the pamphlet, the first thing you see is that it's recommended that if you encounter an alligator to maintain a safe distance. And it's recommended to have at least a 20 or 30 foot gap between yourself and the alligator. And while you know you're already much closer than that and have to get closer in order to pass it, you continue reading to see if there's any additional information to survive the unlikely but possible attack. One thing you know in the pamphlet is that alligator attacks on humans are rare. Although in your case, you're getting attacked by every animal, so that doesn't mean much to you. And in the cases of alligator versus human brawls, alligators typically attack because they either felt threatened or had their nest encroached upon, or they even potentially mistook a person for prey. And while you understand that you could basically fall into any of those categories, you don't feel super confident about crossing this body of water. Your bro, with the worst luck in the world and apparently a death wish, interrupts your reading and tells you an alligator can't bite what it can't catch. And he sprints into the body of water, hoping to get through as quickly as possible. Although, unfortunately for him, he literally ran directly into the jaws of the alligator. And now, you're once again yelling life-saving advice to him. One of the first things you read, once again, is that if you get into a situation with an alligator, it's best to fight back immediately. Not by trying to pry its jaws open, because you have no chance at doing that, but by, once again, targeting sensitive areas. Alligator's primary method of attack is using a powerful bite to subdue prey. So if you can strike its eyes or nose to try to have it loosen its grip, you can ideally get out of its jaws and run fast away. And that's exactly what your bro does. He begins plunging his thumbs into the eyes of the alligator, causing the alligator to open its mouth only slightly, allowing your bro to roll out of the mouth of the alligator, swim across the body of water, and run like hell away from it. And as you read the pamphlet, you see that running away from alligators is highly recommended. And it's even stated that while alligators are fast in short bursts on land, they cannot outrun humans over longer distances. Meaning that there's no need to run in a zigzag pattern, and you can run as fast as you can, as far as you can, away in a straight line. Now, as you continue to read, you see that even if you survive an alligator attack, you're not in the clear just yet. Because if one of the teeth penetrates your skin, the bacteria in the alligator's mouth could cause a nasty infection. Although fortunately for your bro, the bites didn't penetrate through the backpack or the jacket he was wearing, meaning that he was bruised up, but alive. And after your bro's scuffle with the alligator, the scaly guy decided to kick rocks and swim down the stream, leaving the body of water safe for you to cross, allowing you to once again reunite with your unlucky buddy. As you both begin to catch your breath before you head into the next section of the arena, you hear a buzzing over the PA, and then you hear the voice of the coordinator. And the coordinator says that you and your bro are doing well, and that there are only 2 challenges left before you get the large prize. That is, if you survive. But that isn't the only thing the coordinator says. The coordinator also says to you directly watching at home, if you are enjoying this video about how to survive different animal attacks and want to see a part 2, leave a like or leave a comment on the video saying part 2. And if you want to see Trust Me Bro hit 2 million subscribers, make sure to subscribe if you're not already. And with that amazing message from the coordinator out of the way, let's get to the final challenges in this rather experimental house of horrors that is this zoo. As you make your way into one of the final clearings, you see the unmistakable sight of a tiger right in front of you. Although this tiger doesn't look quite right. This tiger looks skinny, frail, and gray in the face. You can tell this tiger is elderly, and you're almost curious if the zoo ran out of budget for its predators. But as you consult the pamphlet, before you even get anywhere near the tiger, you understand why there is an old tiger specifically in this zoo. As you read, you are informed that tigers typically hunt alone and usually target medium to large sized prey, such as wild boar, deer, and other animals. And human attacks for tigers aren't as uncommon as other animals we've discussed. And the most common instances where tigers attack humans are when a tiger is old, injured, or feels threatened. And these sorts of attacks...
It's because a human, when a tiger is injured, it's an easy kill. I think tigers know not to hunt humans when they're injured, because we don't have much resistance to a 400 to 600 pound cat. There's not much we can do, but they know that we are easy targets, which is crazy.
Attacks are even more common in areas where both humans and tigers live in close proximity, such as rural villages and areas like that. Now knowing why there is an elderly tiger in front of you, you take pity on your bro, hand him the pamphlet, and tell him that you're going to take one for the team, and all you ask him to do is read you the survival tactics. Fortunately, you remember exactly how to survive a mountain lion attack. And assuming a tiger is similar, you plan on using the same moves, and to save time, you don't only approach the tiger, you also begin to just lay on the ground in a defensive position, almost to call it on to you. And as the tiger begins to approach you, and then poke you with its nose, you begin waiting for your friend to give you the next steps. But as you glance over at your friend as you are covering your head, you see that he is standing there cluelessly, picking his nose, and you realize you're left to your own devices. Without having any professional advice, you decide to go with Old Reliable. And as this tiger begins to mount you and open up its mouth to show off its massive teeth, you kick Terry the tiger right in the tiger testicles and make this elderly tiger scream in pain and run away crying like a little kitten. Obviously, that's no real survival strategy, but in a pinch, it just happened to work. And as you backtrack to your friend, you rip the pamphlet out of his hand, smack him over the head with it, and continue onto the final portion of this crazy zoo's survival challenge. Heading out of the woods, once and for all, you're met with the beach and the biggest body of water you've encountered so far. At this point, you're curious how all of this has even fit in this zoo, but you're honestly too over it to even ask. Luckily, this body of water is not something you have to swim through, because there is an albeit rickety bridge going directly across it. And while it's so long you can't see the other end of it, due to the fog that is over the water, you and your bro assume that this bridge is actually what's going to take you out, because there's no animals that live on bridges. And it's for this reason that you and your bro are sprinting down this bridge to just be done with the zoo, grateful that you're actually alive. However, as you're sprinting on this bridge through the fog clears and you notice a massive gap in the bridge directly in front of you. But unfortunately, it's too late to stop, and you and your bro are both dropped into the water. Luckily, it's only a short gap between the end of the bridge and the beginning of the second part of it. But during your time in this water, you understand why this bridge is here, and you have just met the final predator in this video. Because your friend is so bruised and banged up, you quickly notice that the blood from his clothes are seeping into the water, and this blood in the water is attracting nearby sharks. And before you know it, you have two great white sharks circling you and your bro.
Great white?
Now, like most people know at this point,
why couldn't it be like a reef shark? Why it had to be great white? One of the animals with the strongest PSI in the world.
Great white sharks are not trying to hunt humans particularly, although they are curious and will give a test bite to unfamiliar things, and will give more than a test bite to things they deem to be prey. And while these sharks don't see you and your bro as food, they don't know what to make of you and decide to learn a bit more. And as one of the sharks begins to approach your bro, you quickly begin reading on what he should do. As the shark approaches your friend and he gets more and more terrified, you tell him, hey, the pamphlet says to stay calm, maintain eye contact, and avoid splashing. You cannot outswim a great white shark, and it's not even worth trying. What you should do instead is keep yourself vertical and slowly back away. And while your friend seems receptive to this information, panic got the best of him. And as the shark swam by his leg, he kicked the shark in the nose, instantly angering it, causing the great white to circle back around in preparation for a bite. Seeing what's inevitably going to happen, you continue to read and see that the book states that if you are bitten, you need to defend yourself immediately, aiming specifically for the eyes, gills, or snout, ideally with any object you have, or in the worst case, your fists. Even a small bite from a great white shark can be deadly, meaning that you have absolutely no margin for error. Feeling unconfident that your friend's going to be able to protect himself in this situation, you decide to do something rash. As the sharks swim past you, while being focused on your friend, you decide to throw your backpack at the shark, giving it something to focus on. And as the shark bites on your backpack, you dive your fist deep into its gills, hoping to prove that you and your friend are not worth messing with. Unfortunately, it works, and the two sharks swim away. But now you have no backpack. But a backpack is a small price to pay for your life. You and your bro quickly swim to the other side of the bridge and continue to walk until the bridge leads to the shore, and on the shore you see a building and a wall, similar to the wall that you approached on your way in, and two metal doors once again. You approach these doors and they instantly open for you, and you are met with a bright, shining light. This is what you've been waiting for. This is the room with the prize. This is everything you've wanted. And as you walk through the metal doors and walk into this very, very overwhelmingly bright room, you are met with the zoo's gift shop. And the coordinator you met previously hands both you and your bro 2 t-shirt vouchers to get a free t-shirt that says, "I went to the worst zoo ever, and all I got was this t-shirt."
Fuck out of here.
Not wanting to go home empty-handed, you and your bro collect your shirts and head home, vowing to never visit sketchy zoos ever again. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. A video about how to survive.
That was a good little video. Shout out to Trust Me Bro. I like that video.